He say, she say, we say, I say, hearing out them poison views when I see it my way. Yes it goes, yes it knows, maybe so's, probably not. Shoulds and coulds, do's and don'ts, your woulds and won'ts is how you rock. Politicians and religions, on your house or are you renting? Is you married? Is you single? Meta interest when you mingle, turn out to be someone you into. So how long before the bed get wrinkled? Children when they tripping, is it time out or do you whip them? Opinions and decisions, hunches, intuitions, may or may not get it, cause people's experience different. Check the prejudice at the door. Speak the line, you give the flow. Tell the truth if it's sweet or sour, cause the hour we spitting that fire.
Hey everyone, this is Spittin Fire. I'm coming to you with another one. Make sure you are over the age of 18 when you listen to my videos, and do not allow anyone under the age of 18 to listen to the videos. Please make sure you read the disclaimer in the description below before we get started, or before you get started listening to the videos, okay? Because I want to make sure everybody understands, what it is that I speak on, all right? Sometimes I curse in my videos. Sometimes it's deliberate. Sometimes it's passionate. But this is Spitting Fire. What do you think we're going to get? We're going to talk about injustice in depth. Let's get to it. All right. So now y'all see the screen. And the name of this segment is Hypocrisy. But I'm talking about the hypocrites of injustice. If you notice, for the last 18 months, I've been coming on the scene speaking of injustice. And anyone, I'm going to tell y'all right now, if any motherfucker out there showing you shit like this, they got it from me. It's a lot of fucking copycatters out there, and I'm about sick of it. Especially when they don't give you credit. They just go on your page, take your stuff, and do what you did, but spin it a little bit. And I hate that. Because, what I'm doing is sincere. And it comes from the heart. And if you are sincere in what you do, you don't have to do that. All of this is what I'm doing right now that you see on your screen. It comes from my dome. It comes from me. It comes from what I believe in. And it comes from a place of what I have passion for. But when people have to steal your work, that's not a place of passion. You know what I mean? They're not passionate about the cause into which they're supposed to be advocating for. And that's one of the things that I get upset about. But when there are things that need to be spreaded, they're not spreading the accurate stuff that I want out here. And one of the things that I want out here is, when you fight injustice, it is important that we start with the media. People believe that you should start with the law, the police. They believe the prosecutors, the judges, the laws, and all this and that. And I often speak on the laws and stuff, and the laws need to be changed. But as time goes on and you really investigate things and study and, do a whole lot of research, you really realize that one of the things with the law that needs to be changed is the media. The First Amendment is what they're protected by, which goes along with your right to protest. In other words, a right of freedom of press. Okay, but we need to change that constitution. They have a right to bias-free press, because sometimes people think, oh, we need to be biased, or some biases are not. No, what I mean by biased press, which means it needs to coincide with the law. Like, if there's a situation to where there's two sides to every story, then both sides of the story needs to be heard. And the people need to then make a kind of decision to what side they want to believe in, as opposed to the media being biased and only putting out what they want you to believe, or what they want you to see or perceive it to be. Especially when I have told you guys that there's one parent company really that owns a lot of these networks, and they want you to side with them. Just like with the R. Kelly saga, they put a memo out, and everyone is against them, from NBC, Fox News, CBS, Disney, CNN, ABC, or many other networks, some of the other cable networks and things of that nature, because they're really basically owned by the same parent company. But there's two sides to every story, and no one wants to hear his side. And when you have people that works for these media networks, these networks own them. They own them. They own them, and they have what they call the freedom of speech. Goes back to your First Amendment. They can control it. So if you don't do what they want you to do, they will take your livelihood, your shows, your projects, and everything else, as they did with Nick Cannon, as they was threatening to do with Snoop Dogg, and many other people who had to come out and apologize. It's all being a puppeteer. But I think that we need to do something else. But then when organizations come on board, they often work with the media to change the perception into what they want people to believe in. Like these right here. LGBT, Time's Up, Black Lives Matter, and Me Too. Now, one of the things about these movements right here is that I believe that they come from a place to which they want to do good. But we often know that a lot of it is BS. Okay? Just like Time's Up, for instance. They say believe women. But we often know that when you do believe women, we know that women also lie too. We know that a lot of them are groupies. A lot of them are slept with men for money, and a lot of them are mad and angry, and they use the laws for revenge. If I can't get what I want from you voluntarily, or you willing to do it, then I would definitely scream rape, and that's all I have to do. Especially when it is a black man that's a celebrity that had many women. They know that once one falls, calls and claim rape, some more will claim rape because they thinking the payouts are going to come. Or what about the Me Too movement? Spinning the narrative that they helping little black girls in the neighborhood. But yet she didn't go around in neighborhoods and schools and things. What she did was tour colleges. Tour colleges so you, the people of college age, can vote the way that she wants you guys to vote, especially for the Democratic Party, which she believes Joe Biden is bagging this movement. And not only is Joe Biden and the Democratic Party bagging the Me Too movement or whatever, she often, which is Tarana Burke, claimed that Joe Biden, who was also charged with a sexual mishap, could be held accountable and electable. But wait a minute, you have men that went to prison because of your movement. How could you say one man can be held accountable and electable, but another man can't be held accountable and even payable and keep his freedom? Like, that doesn't make sense. There's so much hypocrisy in this, it doesn't even make sense, and people are not thinking of it. But these hypocrisies goes back to injustice. It feeds with injustice. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a movement that was started, back in the second part of the decade, after 2010, 12, something like that around there, when Trayvon Martin. And they wanted people to understand that the black men lives were really matter, which is Sandra Bland's and Eric Gardner's and things of that nature that were unarmed men were killed by police officers. Now, some people think that they don't support the Black Lives Matter. Well, the Black Lives Matter can be broken up into two different entities right now. You have the organization and you have the actual people that's actually screaming Black Lives Matter because it fits what they're speaking of when it comes to injustice. Like, for instance, most people do not side with Black Lives Matter, the organization. They say George Soros, the LGBT, and some other lesbian women own it. So these are the ones that they say they don't support because it's a hidden agenda. But the people who are out there and the family members of people who were killed by police officers, unarmed and unjust, well, they believe Black Lives Matter really. And I like to call those Black Lives Matter the official Black Lives Matter because it's not an agenda to it other than people losing their lives unjust. There's many other laws that we can be talking about. Speaking of the LGBT has been allied with all these other movements, except for what we call Black Lives Matter. A lot of times when you have a black gay man that's pretty much, when you attack one part of him, he associated with the color. In other words, I know a lot of gay men that says, okay, yeah, I'm black and I've been stereotyped. But gays just been stereotyped just as much. A gay man, black man, don't just side with the black part. He's also going to incorporate the gay part. But his gay part is not a threat to the mainstream, such as white America. So, in other words, when you speaking of white America, they're not threatened by a demasculine black man. They're threatened by the strong, masculine, heterosexual black man. That's the ones they are concerned about. So when you have like someone that is gay and black, well, they tend to side and collect both of them together. But the fact of the matter is, if he was a heterosexual black man, he and the hate that he would endure far outweighs him being gay. Now, I'm not saying that gay hate doesn't happen. It does. People are biased towards the LGBT. Some people are just traditional, and then some people feel that they're not biased. They just believe in the traditional way of being. However, with the LGBTQIA or whatever other alphabet they want to add to it with no disrespect, they have to understand something. Within that organization, they have been divided. The white gays, just like many other organizations, have kind of bashed and restricted the black gays. But when it comes to protesting, when it comes to getting laws passed, they want to incorporate them. But once they in it, they can care less about what happens to them. Just like the LGBT. When it comes to unarmed black men, many of them recently used to never protest with us. Up until recently, after everyone else got in an uproar about what happened to the late George Floyd. So one of the things I want to talk to you about is the LGBT. They piggybacked off civil rights, which is what? Majority of the people who had fighting for rights for black people. Basically, just to sum it up. And yes, there were other cultures there as well. But they piggybacked off the civil rights movements to get their laws passed. Hey, you can't be mad at them. But what I can be mad at you is when you use that and you don't show respect, you don't show admiration, and you don't show support of black men who are being killed. And you don't support the heterosexual black men. Being gay man does not give you an exempt not to support the heterosexual man. But when a heterosexual man doesn't support the gay man, well, it's a hate crime. Or he preaching hate. Or use the term of homophobic. You know, this goes back to believing women, helping young black girls in the neighborhood, which that particular movement, which is the Me Too, going back to that, and I often just spoke to you about how she toured the colleges because she wanted to get their votes. This was important for her to do that. She couldn't go after kids in the neighborhood, actually, quote unquote, because they wasn't old enough to vote. But you're supposed to help them, and you spin and stole their narrative. You know, young girls who actually really was raped. Young girls who were raped and molested by uncles and close friends and daddies. Even some women. Okay? You said helping young black girls. But then you turn around and change and say, well, it's just not about women, it's about men too. Yeah, that's probably when Terry Crews came on board. However, the fact of the matter is, we all demasculate our black men. We help them do it. We help them prosecute. We help them demasculate them. We help demasculate them. We help them do a whole lot of things. But one of the things for certain is that me personally, I believe all these organizations are full of it. I believe that the LGBTQ is full of it. They don't even help the black gays. I believe Time's Up is full of it, as if women don't lie. Me Too full of it, stealing young black girls' narrative, and Black Lives Matter. Okay, the organization that said they helping black people, ran by the gay people and white gay men and everyone else other than people that are black. Solely without any other attachment, with any other stigma. Why can't a heterosexual black person have something of their own? When we do, we be restricted. almost like being a puppeteer. So what I want to say to you is, even with the Black Lives, we divided. You have the women liberation movement say Black girls matter, Black women matter. Isn't that part of Black Lives? I've said it in many of my videos. Because that's just stupid. That's just downright diabolical stupid. To just say Black girls, Black lives. It's Black Lives Matter. I'm Black. You Black. We're all Black lives. What the hell are you trying to divide us for? As if this culture don't have enough division. I tell you, these are the things that we need to worry about with all this hypocrisy. But let's start somewhere else. Let's keep it going. Okay, so we get into the next segment. We're going to be talking about some more biases and hypocrisies that we know that goes on. And this is more modern day. This is recently, within the last 2 years or whatever, up until to date. And we talk about the LGBT and the Me Too movement. And we know that they're organizations allies with each other. I mean, when you say the Me Too movement, you can incorporate you, R. Kelly, and Time's Up. These are all women feminine movements that coincides and corresponds with each other. Help each other out. All feminine movements. Now, don't get me wrong. I am all for being feminine strong. Definitely. It represents who I am as a person. But I've often said that I don't want to be the type of feminist that's bringing down men, particularly my own culture, on things that I believe that is situation to where it doesn't correspond. Like, in other words, I don't want to be a feminist who's bringing down a heterosexual feminist, bringing down a heterosexual man, all because I want to be strong and fight for women. No, not at all. Why can't we all be raised up together? Why can't we all grow together? I know bullshit when I see one. Just because you are a woman don't mean I'm supposed to side with you. Just because you are a man don't mean you're guilty. And vice versa. Yeah, there are men who I think are guilty of crimes. Definitely. I speak on them all the time. Maybe not on this platform, but believe me, in real life, I speak on it all the time. It's just that I use my platform to fight for the men who I believe is innocent. That the narrative doesn't fit. That we just can't put things out here in the universe and lie on people and take their freedom because of this or that. Or if there's more than one side to a story, because I have to hear the whole entire story. Now, we know about the history with R. Kelly. We know that the LGBT sided against R. Kelly with the women liberation movement. Because here's the thing with their agenda. If you can take down the competition of the LGBTQ, which is a heterosexual traditional life, then they're all for it. They're all for it. They're all for helping the opposition take down the tradition. So, if you got a strong heterosexual man like R. Kelly, and you want the mayor to be and represents the LGBT, like Lightfoot, then that's the perfect organization to side with Kim Fox and Me Too and everything else. As you know, Kim Fox was in the LGBT parade. These are not all coincidence, people. This is the things that I'm trying to get people to understand. This is not coincidence. This is not me being an activist against the LGBT or against the feminine movement. It's just that I see the BS in all of it, the hypocrisy in all of it. I see it. When are there not going to be hidden agendas when we can just do things because of humanity? That's what I want. When is there ever a problem? So we know that the LGBTQ will be very much, threatened by someone like R. Kelly. Look at the shoulders, the sexiness. The man aged well. When he's fresh haircut, smelling good, groomed up, suited up. Hey, young women even like him. They like him. He doesn't just go out and get young women, they come to him. But that's not what the media is going to tell you because they're siding with the LGBT and the Me Too movement because that goes back to those networks. If you can control the network, you can definitely control whatever narrative you want to be put out here. And that goes with the cold networks and the cold, some bloggers, and that goes with some celebrity gossips and things like that. Anything that's in the journalism field. If you put it out there, because some journalists and some bloggers can't think for themselves. They go with mainstream media. But me, as Spittin' Fire, I call a kettle how I see it. I call a spade what I see it. I call BS when I see it. Who go stop me? In the words of Sheree Whitfield, who go check me, boo? So that being said, when you have these movements like these two to go after a heterosexual man, well, that's not right. And not only is it not right, I can see it. But what do these organizations do? Well, I told you about the Me Too movement, saying they help little black girls in the neighborhood. They tell stories. And most people, a lot of people who experience sexual abuse at the hands of a loved one or family member or close friends of the family, a teacher or some coach, someone that they trust. So if they experience these things, they tap into that emotion. When you can tap into someone's emotion, you can get them to side with you. When you get them to side with you, you can get them to come on platforms and speak against what it is you're speaking against. That's what they played on. They played on rape and molesters, victims' emotion. Because if I was a rape victim, I'm going to believe everybody's a rapist. If I was molested, I'm going to believe that he did it. A lot of the time, not all of the time. Some people who are actually were victims can see the BS, meaning, no, I don't act like that. And you making a mockery of my pain is not tolerated. You have a lot of those. And those are the people I salute. Those are the people that I truly want to advocate for and want to help and bring about justice to their people who were their predators. Because, hey, when you can see BS, that means you can see clearly. And when you can see clearly, that means I can believe you because you have no motive. There's nothing you want other than justice. And that can be to make sure your perpetrator is behind bars. Now, speaking of the hypocrisy that we were talking about when it came to R. Kelly, well, we know that R. Kelly liked young women. And there's nothing wrong with liking young women. Because like young women like him. However, people were saying that he liked underage young women. There is no question if these women were underage or not. The fact of the matter is that one admitted of lying about her age. Another one he worked with and made her a mega star. So what is it? They say, oh, he married Aaliyah. Well, my personal opinion of what that is, first, the marriage was annulled, which means it never happened. You can't have an annulment and something was annulled and then say it happened, and then the definition of annul contradict what annulment means or what marriage even means. Second, there was a single out that said age ain't nothing but a number. So what better way to pretend we're together, we're married, or whatever, to sell this album and make it go platinum, which it did, which you people purchased, which you people bought, which you people wanted them to be together back then. Now that you have a change of heart and everything else, now you want him to go to jail for it. Well, to me, that's not the way life works. It's either it's right or it's wrong. Okay? And no one thing in the middle should make you see gray. What was good is now bad. What was bad is now good. But see, that's not how Spittin' Fire works. Once something is good, it's the good. Once something is bad, it's bad. If there's a gray area, leave it be. Leave it be. Period. So that's what I think. I think it was all a publicity stunt. And I think the people who were around him back then knew that. However, Jada Pinkett Smith, Well, she dated someone young. Actually, someone her son dated. But she don't get nowhere near the bashing that he got. What she got was just she cheated on her husband. That was it. You know, a typical affair. Or, she shouldn't have did it. She was wrong. That was it. The biasness between the men and the women when it comes to a woman dating a younger man and when it comes to a man dating a younger woman. That there is pure BS. If it was up to me and I really believe that people are predators who date younger people, then she would be the definition of a predator. Almost the same as what they said R. Kelly was. Help vulnerable young women, they said, that had trouble past. Well, he was a vulnerable young man, that Arkansas Alsina, who had some trouble past. And you admitted you wanted to help him, and yet somehow he slid in your old crotch. And somehow you thought that getting the orgasm off of him during his mental incompetency was probably the best thing to do. Nah, Jada. You need to get the same damn treatment R. Kelly got. Considering the fact that you were the main one coming out the night of the documentary. And you, Jada Pinkett Smith, sponsored the Me Too. Yes, you did. I seen Tarana Burke on Love and Hip Hop, and I seen that company that says the Red Table Talk sponsored by Me Too. No, Me Too sponsored by the Red Table Talk. That's the correct way of saying it. And I seen that, and I put it in my videos last year. But it's so funny how Tarana Burke did not come after you, did not make a statement, did not say anything about you being a predator. The hypocrisy of it all is what gets me. The stereotype, the biasness is what gets me. People, even if you believe R. Kelly is guilty, all this hypocrisy, you mean to tell me you're going to let a man you don't really know is guilty or innocent go to jail with all this hypocrisy and injustices that are happening? But one of the problems is the injustices and hypocrisy is happening not all the ways with the opposite culture. In other words, it's not all black people that's going against black. It's black on black. Not just black on black crime when they killing each other, but black on black setup. Black on black setup. Blacks selling each other out for gain and profit, support, belonging, and sponsorships. These are the things that we need to stop doing as a culture. I said it to you for over 18 months. Cultural obligation is definitely what's needed. I've said it to you more than once, and I'll keep on saying it to you. But you got to be true to yourself. You can't say it's okay for Jada because she's a woman, and it's not okay for R. Kelly because he's a man. That there is wrong. Period. Period. If you can put him away, there's somebody who should be pressing charges against Jada for the same circumstances. Because even R. Kelly women was of age, and they said that they were brainwashed. Well, why can't he been brainwashed? Why can't she be held accountable? These are the things that we have to do. We have to stop putting our own away. Even you, Jada, this is a lesson for you. I hope you see my video. I hope people tag you so much in the timeline right here for you to hear this. For you to hear this. It's thousands of you. Thousands of my subscribers. I want you to hear this. Make sure she gets this. Jada, you need to have cultural obligation. There was no reason for you to go after R. Kelly without knowing all of the facts or his side of the story. Stop calling people victims when you don't know if they're a victim, because saying victims is automatically saying someone is guilty. And furthermore, you're the same one that was guilty of doing the same thing they alleged R. Kelly was doing. And yet, you're not in jail. I hope you take all of this, because rumors was going on for you and your husband many years that you guys were swingers, and you denied it. Just like there were rumors going on that R. Kelly was messing with underage girls, and he denied it. So you are the main one to know what a rumor is. It's just that, a damn rumor. Doesn't mean because it was going on for so long that it was true. You like young men too, just like he liked young women. And you're not that far apart in age. You what, 48, 49, R. Kelly 52, 53? Come on now. You know better. Just as you said he did. This goose and gander thing, no. You need to really come out and say an apology, not only to your husband and to your family and to your fans, but to R. Kelly as well. And you need not to care about no networks and what they think. What you don't have to say about the alleged victims, you don't have to speak against them. You can just say, I spoke too soon. Knowing what I know and experience what I experienced, I shouldn't have given even him the benefit of the doubt. That is period. And that's point blank. And that's all of you. With all the injustices that we're going through today, you guys, even the ops and people who think he's guilty, should have gave this man the benefit of the doubt. Everyone, and you need to understand something. Everyone that was against this man has failed. Nick Cannon, Jada, Gail, Oprah, the accusers, Kim Fox, the FBI even. Everyone got caught up in something, was exposed of something. That is an eye-opener to wait. We may have been wrong. Don't let the crucifixion be completed like y'all did with Jesus. Not comparing R. Kelly to him, but the circumstances is the same. When you're talking about freedom and livelihoods against beliefs, and then you're wrong, and now it's too late. Come on now. That's what I'm getting with this, because y'all gonna be like, oh, she comparing R. Kelly to Jesus. You know how y'all spin narratives. This is not a commentary of you spinning the narrative. This is a commentary to teach your ass. To teach you something that you need to understand and take heed to. Because a lot of y'all are not intelligent enough to take heed to the information to which I'm spinning out here on this universe. But you like to spin narratives because you want to sit up there and be competitive with spitting fire. But you can never be. Ever. See, the problem with a lot of people is, getting off the topic a little bit, is that they think they're smarter or they can spin narrative, they slick. No. When you think you got more wisdom than me, we're going to have a problem. But I will show you that later on down the line in life, I guess. Suppose. Getting back to this is a very long video. Very long. Because I need you guys to understand, and you can listen to it in sections. I'm going to give it to you in sections, so you listen to it in sections. That's okay. But this is what needed to be said. Let's move it along to the next section. So now we got to talk about some other things that's going on in this injustice, in this hypocritical world. As you can see, we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And justice is supposed to be blind. However, I don't think that she is blind. I think that she got the scale that is balanced. Well, we all know when it comes to men, particularly black men, that scale is not balanced at all. For instance, let's go back to the Bill Cosby situation. I mean, they went back as far as 50, 60 years to try to claim him of rape back then. There was no such thing as rape because I said so, or because I wanted to be, or because I had sex with him and changed my mind. Oh no, he admitted to drugging women. Really? Let's take a look, listen to this. There is what's called a deposition. Depositions are taken under oath, supposed to be closed, sealed, and asking questions of what may have happened. These depositions, if it particularly go to court, can be used against you for things that you have said. However, because after the deposition and there was a settlement, all these things were broken. She wasn't reordered to pay back the money she received, but yet his freedom was taken away from him. Now, when it comes to deposition, they ask a series of questions. Sometimes it's almost like being on a jury. These questions can be tricky. So being an older man, he may have gotten tricked up on his words or things of that nature. It's not unusual. This is why he has an attorney to cross-examine the things that the plaintiff is accusing him of. But there was a particular question that they asked, did he give the women Quaaludes? Mr. Cosby said, yes, I definitely gave Quaaludes. He said, you gave them Quaaludes? He said, yes, I gave them Quaaludes. The women indicating that they didn't know that they were giving Quaaludes, that it was slipped into their drink. When they woke up, they knew that something strange happened. They couldn't pinpoint what it was. Then at particular time, some women said that they woke up in the bed nude and didn't know. And they said that they raped them. Now, neither one of these women went to jail. Not in the era, even when rape was prominent. In other words, when you can go to court or when you can make a police report and then go to court, there are things that you can sit up there and say. Like, I was raped. I believe he raped me. I woke up and couldn't remember what happened. No police was called. No investigation was done. Only this deposition. So, the deposition was on the civil level, but yet trickled on down to a criminal level. And in the process of that, these women who claimed they were raped had a second encounter with Mr. Cosby. Now, I don't know where you from, but where I'm from, if I believe that you drugged me and I believe that you raped me, there will never be a second encounter with you in no shape, form, or fashion. I will not talk to you again. I will not even speak of your name. And I definitely probably will go to the police, even if nothing come out of it. I'm going to make my statement and I'm going to make it stick, whether criminal charges come of it or not, because those are my statements of truth. But this didn't happen. Money was a clear factor of this situation. And when they went back and forth, no one, even in society of today, questioned why would you go back and have a second encounter with a man that you claim raped you? You didn't feel the way you felt when you went back the second time, as you clearly indicating to us. What are people supposed to think? What? Oh, I will tell you. He brainwashed them. They were manipulated. They wasn't for sure. These emotions are not Bill Cosby or any other person's fault who you are claiming raped you. That's your fault. You have to be taking accountability and responsibility for your actions. You have to take accountability for it. You have to be taking an accountability for that stuff. You cannot just say what you want to say, have emotions, and then people supposed to play on your emotion. But the way the world is today is a very emotional world, and nobody want to take accountability for the choices they make, especially if there are women. A woman does not have to. She can make excuses why. I was feeling this way. I was feeling that way. You can feel a lot of ways. That doesn't excuse you from what the law is or what your rights are. You rape, you file a police report. Somebody murders someone, there is a police investigation. We have laws in place that put things in perspective, so which we think things have happened, so we can investigate these things and we can take it to court and bring about and see what comes of it. But when you don't do that, that's a question mark. When you take money, that's a question mark. You understand? But going back to the deposition, they asked about the Quaaludes. He admitted to giving them Quaaludes, but they didn't sit up there and say that he didn't know that they were giving Quaaludes. He indicated in his deposition that yes, we were slipping Quaaludes in drinks to get high. I had it in my drink, they had it in their drink. It made you feel good. Once you woke up, you did not remember what happened. Women were all for it. They even believed in it and wanted it. They were given drugs, not just Quaaludes, but other drugs as well. That was the Hollywood way. So in that deposition, not only did he admit to giving them Quaaludes, he also admitted that the women were taking these drugs and other drugs for sex, for menage a trois, many women, many men, gang stuff, Playboy Mansion, and at his home. Bill Cosby had a big home. There were times where he was on the other side of the home, probably doing things he shouldn't do with women in his home with his wife. But she's thinking he's conducting business, which, yeah, he was conducting business all right. But it doesn't constitute rape, especially when you go back again. To me, as a jury, once you go back, I don't know about you, but it seems to me there's some consensual there. And if because things didn't go your way, I'm not going to fall for the he raped me claim. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So now we have two men accused of white collar crimes. These crimes happen. One man extorted millions of dollars. They said the other man extorted millions of dollars. One is black, one is white. One was a public official, one was a high-priced attorney. Both have equal positions, okay? Both of them. Both of them. However, one can't get out in the midst of COVID after serving already 12 years off and on. Well, the other served less than 90 days and got out. The injustices in that, pretty clear cut. One is black, one is white. People often say we play the race card. Well, Black lives wouldn't matter and wouldn't even exist if that wasn't a card in itself. In other words, the race card is a reality card. It exists and it gets played. And not only does it get played, it's a deck in its own. It's not a card that's in the deck, it is the deck of cards. It is a card that's called the race cards with an S. The whole stack is a race card because these are the things and the injustices that is brought upon our culture. I mean, you have to understand something. The race card can be played many ways. But the race card often been played in more cultures than just black. I mean, white people been playing the race card since their existence. It's called white privilege. They have the privilege just because they're white. White women have the privilege just because they're white women. They can claim rape on a black man in the speak of an eye. Now with the white one, they can claim it as well. But they have to go through the justice system and all these type of things. With a black man, when a white woman claim rape, they're going to just pick them straight on up with no questions asked. Because the narrative is a black man will rape a white woman on how all of these laws and amendments came about. These were the reasons why we have these laws. All stem from Negro man would rape a white woman. The fear of that to the white race. But what about when their women are willing to be with the black man? That's dangerous for him. Either way it go, if a white woman, especially back in the day, had eyes for a black man and wanted him, he damned. He damned if he do, and he damned if he don't. Because if he don't, and she gets mad, she's gonna claim he raped her. And if he do, and somebody finds out, he's dead all the same. And she's not strong enough to protect him. So, we all know that these laws stems from that narrative. But when we sit up here and think of these things, what do? Nothing. Many of us don't do anything because we're not educated enough to do anything. We don't get involved in politics. We don't get involved in community services. We don't get involved in a lot of things. One of the things that we don't get involved in, I tell you, is a lot of education. Education based. Putting money into our own schools. You know, I'm going to tell you this. The 3/5 rule has always been the law when it comes to black men, black people. I have spoken about the 3/5 rule 18 months ago. It exists. It exists. And after speaking with my brother in justice, I said, people don't understand about the 3/5 rule. He said, you're right. I'm going to have to speak that on my channel. I said, you need to spread the word. And if it's anything, people that wants to steal my commentary, such as right now, please educate yourself on the 3/5 rule and tell it to your audience because it needs to be spreaded. It needs to be understood what the 3/5 rule is. So you will know why the injustices and everything that we have to fight for happening today. It all stems from that and how we spin narratives. One of the things that I am very much concerned with is the media and the 3/5 rule. However, to fight injustice again, as I said at the beginning, you have to go after the media. Then you go after changing the laws pertaining to the media, pertain to equality. But black people don't know that. They want justice, they want it now, and that's it. They don't have to understand that they have been programmed by TV and the media. You have to deprogram yourself and be optimistic and know that you've been fooled many centuries. And so to do that, you kill that programming robot, and that's the media. You restrict them of biased media and make them be bias free and call them out when they are not. That way, when people who are journalists and editors and writers and all this and that put sterile stories and narratives out there, they must be bias free, not put their own personal take on these things. That way, that will give us as African American / Black / American / Nubian / whatever you want to call people of melanin skin, whatever you want to call yourself, if you're dark skinned, an equal humanity right of freedom, liberty, and peace. But you're not going to do that and think that you're just going to get it because you demand it. No, you got to chop it off. Almost like how R. Kelly said they went after R. Kelly. They cut him off at the knees by restricting his resources, which was against the law. Did a video about that. But if you change the law about the First Amendment and change it to bias-free media, well, there is where you start. You see, people, something that seems so minor can have such a huge impact on the whole culture and the whole world. That being said, we got to move on to the next segment. We got about 10 minutes left, and we got plenty to talk about. Alrighty. We have talked about 3 or 4 different segments so far in this 1 hour special of hypocrisy. And now this is the last 10 minutes of it. And I know when you see on your screen, you like, what does these people all have in common? Well, they all have a lot of things in common. But you thinking, literally, what do they have in common other than humans, right? Well, if you're thinking about career rise, well, 2 of them was on TV, and 3 of them, 2 of them was oppressed, and 2 of them was white. You get what I'm going? Like, in other words, the woman, Rosie McGowan, and Carolyn Dunham Brown, both white women. Rosie O'Donnell and Nick Cannon on television. The slave at the top in Emmett Till was during oppressions of black people. That's why I put these pictures up here, these images, because I wanted you to see that. A lot of people who don't think at the surface level would never understand what it is that I speak of. And they can't understand and decide in their brain, like, what is she talking about? And a lot of people don't understand what I'm talking about because they're surface level thinkers. And they're just not educated enough to understand what it is that I'm talking about. But I'm going to get you there because you can teach me and I can teach you. There's things that even people who education is less than mine can teach me. I'm not one of those ones who have a college education that automatically thinks I'm smarter. But what I am smart of, I do try to teach you of. You understand? So let's get into this more. So now we have Rosie McGowan. Rosie McGowan is the one she's the pit bull of the Me Too movement. She was pretty. She played in Charm. Pretty girl. Pretty young woman. Eye candy for sure when she was on Charm. And she indicated that Harvey Weinstein raped her. She said he raped her. Well, people believed her, some didn't, or whatever. But what I believe happened is that he halted her career, stopped her from working, made her really angry. And because of that, she's going to get that bastard. And she did. She really did. And anybody that speak ill on any man or take up for men that was accused of rape or whatever, whether it's false or not, she will come at him. She was once friends with Alyssa Milano. Then she bit her head off when she protected Joe Biden. I didn't hear her say anything about Tarana Burke, though. She also protected Joe Biden. I don't know where this is going to go with Rosie McGowan, but I know that I told you earlier that the LGBT was friends with all of them, all of these feminine movements. And yet, here she is, looking so masculine, so different than what she used to look like on Charm. You know, the stud look. It's mighty funny how all of them have this studness. Especially Bill Cosby accuser, Constant. We're going to be talking about more of that part in Rose McGowan's look in part 2 of this hypocrisy. But let's move on to Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon was recently fired for Viacom CBS. And then I did a couple videos and I said, well, let's see how long it takes him to apologize. And that was 24 hours. Who get go figure that soon. But you got to watch what you say, because Nick Cannon was one of the ones who was speaking ill of none other than the king of R&B, R. Kelly. But he was friends with R. Kelly and been in videos with R. Kelly. And see, when you turn your back and everything else on people and who you thought or believed to be your friend, this is kind of what you get, you know. And somebody posted on my comment thread says, so rich people don't believe in karma. Oh, some of them do. They just don't know where the hell it come from because they stepped on so many toes. See, if Nick Cannon wasn't and didn't say what he said about the Jews, he wouldn't have been fired. But most importantly, being rich like he is and getting his friends together to start their own network, they could say what they want to say and wouldn't have to be a puppet for the puppeteers. In other words, these big networks run all these media channels and the journalists. That's why they tell people what they can and can't say. And if you don't say what they want you to say, not only would they blackball you, okay, but they only would not would they blackball you, but they will stop your whole career chain. This is why it's important for people like Nick Cannon with money and others with money that he know to get your own network. If it's nothing else that this injustice movement, the official Black Lives Matter movement, not the one with the Trayvon and all them back in the day, not George Soros and them LGBT people back behind it, the official where the people in the community screaming, where there's no backing or organization, where the official Black Lives Matter movement, if there's nothing other came out of it, it is to make sure you get your own. We all talk about support Black business, support this. No, rich and famous and powerful. I hope you guys share this video with them. Have meetings and get your own network. That way you don't have to worry about them telling you what to say and do. Like Tyler Perry, he got his own studio. I ain't got to worry about doing deals with you. Cut you out and I can do it myself. Same with Black people. Cut them out and get your own network and you can say what you want yourself. Simple as that. Simple as that. And as far as moving along with Emmett Till and Carolyn, well, for those who don't know the story, she was a white woman that accused Emmett Till at that time of 14 and she was married of whistling at her at a store. Well, he didn't whistle at her and she later said that she lied and she wanted attention from her husband. Well, she got attention from him, all right. He took Emmett out of his relative's house in the middle of the night and they beat Emmett to death. Very brutal death. 14 years old. Back then, white men didn't see you as a kid. You just a nigger, and they can beat you to death and get away with it. And that's what her husband and them did. During that time, an all-white juror would not arrest a white man for killing anybody Black. They had cultural obligation. Cultural obligation is not just when you protect somebody because they are your same race, but when you know when and when not to. And in this instance, for the sake of the culture, they decided to stick together and not let another culture come in and have no justice on a white man. Period and point blank. We as Black people still kind of think we're equal in the law, like with this R. Kelly situation or Bill Cosby situation, because they played on these Black women emotions and helping young Black girls in the neighborhood and hear their stories about being molested and raped and played on their emotions for their support. And them people went out there because they're emotional and it happened to them. They believed the lies that these women told in the, limelight, that these stars raped them because what happened to them. But they are stars and celebrities. Your situation was different. They can't decide the difference. And it all stems because they scared that the man who they got chained as a slave will rape a woman like her at the bottom. That there is where the law began. Is why I put these pictures up here. And then you've seen the injustice with Emmett Till. And you've seen Nick Cannon be a puppet. These are the things that you need to avoid. This is the end of the hypocrisy. I don't play down there. This is Spittin' Fire. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this video. Thank you for listening.